Bottles, barcodes, and labels for your beauty product line with Victoria Warren Jackson. I recommend that you purchase your bottles first before you purchase barcodes and labels. When you contact a label designer, they will ask you for the dimensions of your bottles. In my case, when I first started out, the label designer did not ask me for the dimensions of my bottles, which caused a problem later on in the process of getting my labels and bottles finalized. If your label is designed before purchasing your bottles, there's a big possibility your labels may not fit your bottles. Call the bottling company, select the bottle that you want, order a sample. I would advise anyone to order a sample of any products that they are going to use for their beauty product line. I was able to find a bottling company that provided the label dimensions on their website, and this helped me out a lot. In the beginning, the company that I use is SKS Bottle, and you can always locate them by their website. I referred my label designer to this website. I had such a nice label designer in the beginning. She called and she spoke to a representative at SKS Bottle to confirm any additional information that she needed to design my label. I didn't know that I needed to purchase the bottles first. At the time, I was working with a mentor from the SCORE program, and my mentor was a retired banker. If you aren't familiar with the SCORE program, you can always Google SCORE, which is capital S, capital C, capital O, capital R, capital E, and find out more information about the SCORE program, which really helped me out a great deal. My mentor from the SCORE program, she referred me to a label designer who took the job as a favor to her. And because she was doing a favor to my SCORE mentor, the label designer, she was very inexpensive, but she did not tell me that I needed to provide her with the bottle dimensions. After she designed my labels, I called a printing company, and at the time I contacted Lightning Labels, and they asked for my label size, which I did not have. After I decided on my bottles, my label designer had to revise my labels, and I could tell she was not happy with me at that point. I was a beginner, so I had no idea of the process. I'm not sure if I should blame my label designer for not telling me in advance to purchase my bottles early on, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter who I decided to blame, me or my label designer. I had to pay for my mistakes. And when I say pay for my mistakes, I had to go into my budget and I had to correct my errors. After I received my bottles, I was delayed at least a month because after I had my bottles and the correct label dimensions, I had to call the printing company again. So it's like I was going in circles at this time. When I called the printing company again, I provided them with the dimensions for my bottles, and the representative from the printing company emailed me 6 different labels which he thought would fit my bottles. I printed those labels, I cut them out, and I attached each one of them to my bottles individually. Everything turned out fine after that. Next, I like to discuss barcodes with you. Remember, you are a business, you are not a hobby. You need to have a barcode on your products. I have purchased handmade products from startup businesses that did not include a barcode. Not having a barcode on your product may scare a potential buyer away because consumers are accustomed to seeing barcodes on products they purchased. One sign of a startup business is no barcode on the label. When you go into major stores, you will find that all of their products contain barcodes. If you're planning to sell your product in stores, in major stores, you need to have a barcode. The barcode identifies your product. Barcodes are scanned in stores and they allow the retailer to track and organize any data. The next time you go into a major retail store, I want you to take a couple of seconds, pick up a couple of different products, and look on them to see if they have a barcode. And I am sure that you will find that they all contain barcodes. I purchased my barcode at the wrong time when I was getting my business together. Basically, I was doing everything backwards. By the time I purchased my barcode, my label designer, she was so frustrated with me because I was constantly making her do extra work after she had already finished my label. I was fortunate though to find GS1 barcodes. And there are other companies out there where you can purchase barcodes from, but one of the major companies that's used by many startup businesses is GS1. On GS1, on their website, I was able to set up my account. I created my barcodes from the comfort of my home online, and I emailed my barcodes to my label designer. Getting a barcode is not very expensive and it's as easy as one, two, three. I always like to call a company that I'm going to be doing business with. So I did call GS1. I explained to them that I need a barcode for my beauty products. I explained what type of products, and the sales representative, she walked me through the entire process for setting up my account. I was sitting there on the phone, I was online, and she walked me through the entire process. As I mentioned earlier, I did everything online. I paid online, created online, and then I emailed the barcodes to my label designer. I didn't know that I could create a barcode, but GS1 made it really easy for me. I do pay an annual fee to keep my barcodes active, and it's not very expensive, and I think it's worth it. The third thing that I need to discuss with you are your labels. First of all, try not to stress your label designer. Don't add extra stress to their life. I was fortunate to get a label designer who she didn't charge me extra, but many label designers will charge you for the extra time that you use, which is not a part of your contract. Before you decide on your labels, I would advise you to visit several different stores, look at the labels on the shelf, get an example of what you might want to include in your label, and once you get your example, you can always write these things down on a sheet of paper, maybe drop a sketch of what you want, write down the colors, and so forth. Do not duplicate my mistakes. I was constantly making changes on my first label, and this gave my label designer more work. She was already charging me a very cheap price, and in some cases, I wasn't being too fair to her. I should have known what I wanted on my labels. My label designer, she had leeway, but the final decision was mine. I made so many changes to my label design in the beginning. The final straw, I discovered I forgot to include a barcode. So as I mentioned to you earlier, I did everything wrong. I did everything backwards. My label designer, she did make one final change for me in the beginning when I was getting my first labels created. She made one final change for me to my labels and she added the barcode. But after that, she was done with me. She was finished. She told me I didn't know it was going to be so much work. I wasn't upset with her because this forced me to find a new label designer. I needed to make more changes and I needed a new label designer, which is what I found. To make life even more complicated for myself, I decided not to continue with lightning labels. It's not that they did anything wrong or they gave me any issues. I was always looking around for a company that was just cheaper. So I decided to go with a printing company that's located in my home state. I made my decision after I spoke with the representative, and she sent me out a welcome package which contained some really nice labels. The new printing company, they did the same thing that Lightning Labels did for me. They emailed me some sample labels and I printed them out. I applied them to my bottles, and sure enough, I found the label that I wanted. On that first day, I found my label. So as I told you, my label designer, she did not want to work with me anymore. So I was forced to find a new label designer, which was okay. I asked the new printing company if they had label designers on staff. So if you aren't aware, many printing companies, they have label designers who will actually design your label, do everything in-house, save you money, save you time, and a lot of trouble. I was referred to a label designer who was a perfect match for me. And as a matter of fact, she didn't live too far from the city that I was currently living in. At that point, after all of the stress and the chaos, I was singing at that time. I had my bottles, my barcodes, and my labels. I do like to provide suggestions for you. So here are a few suggestions that I like to share with you. It is okay to print labels from your home computer if you are a hobby. If you are a business, your product should look professional. I suggest that you hire a professional company to print your labels. If you follow the steps that are mentioned in this video, you will save yourself time and money. Ask your printing company to recommend a label designer. Before you order your bottles, always request a sample. Some companies may charge you for shipping and handling, but this will save you money in the long run. After you find a company to provide your barcodes, ask them some very important questions. One, how much is the startup fee? Two, is there an annual fee? It is not necessary to pay thousands of dollars for your label design unless you have that money in your budget. I beg you, check everything twice. Get everything in writing. After you select a supplier for your bottles, make sure they have available inventory year round. If they order from a third party, you could run into a problem later. If there is a natural disaster, there could be some type of disagreement or any other problem which would delay you from getting your bottles. Some vendors offer bottling and labeling. Check their prices in advance and ask them about any additional fees. Here are some resources that I like to share with you. Berlin Packaging, and you can always Google them. Midwest Bottles, SKS Bottle, E-Bottles, Cosmetic Packaging. And if you're interested in finding out what you need to include on your labels, you can always go to the fda.gov website and you can type Cosmetic Labeling Guide in the search engine. Also, if you're looking for labels, you can contact Lightning Labels. A lot of startup companies do use Lightning Labels in the beginning. Online labels, you can also get labels from them that are professional. Printrunner.com is another company that I like to share with you. And also, if you're looking for barcodes, don't forget we discussed GS1. And you can always Google any of these companies and you will find their website. Final words. You can hire a consultant to do the work for you, or you can do it yourself. Believe that you can and you will. There is always someone willing to take your money. I know you can start your own beauty product line with the right resources. And I'm just telling you what I know.